So on March 15th, we got this pedestrian bridge that collapsed in the Miami area. And if you've been following my channel, I've been talking a whole lot about how there's lots of symbolism in regards to bridge collapses going on in the media, among other things. And I've been talking about it in regards to Philadelphia and the Golden Gate Bridge mostly because this year the Golden Gate Bridge will be 81 years old, or it'll be opened for 81 years. And Golden Gate Bridge in Gematria, the frontwards way and the backwards way equal 81. Let's point it out here really quick. If you don't know what Gematria is, it's the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases, and it's used every single day in our media stories. They're always coded with this system that stems back to Kabbalah, which is the belief that God created the world by merging the letter with the number. But anyway, look, Golden Gate Bridge equals 81. The small way frontwards and the small way backwards. And this year it'll be open for 81 years. And the Super Bowl was synced up to the bridge collapse in Minneapolis in 2007. The Super Bowl was in Minneapolis this year, but the bridge collapse was on 8/1, and it supposedly fell 81 feet, and the main trusses were 81 meters long, and it took the emergency crew 81 minutes to transport everyone to the hospital. All of this 81 stuff. Even, I'll just play a clip here, just to show you that I was talking about bridge symbolism and a possible upcoming bridge collapse. And I didn't know what bridge is going to collapse, but just interesting, we even get a story about a bridge collapse. So I made this video on March 5th even. And for the last 3 or 4 months, I've been talking about how they're syncing stuff up to a bridge collapse. But here we go. Clear back around Pope Francis's birthday and before the Super Bowl, I was talking a lot about the number 81 and how it synced up to the Super Bowl, and it was connected to bridge symbolism, and how it connected to 2015, where I was talking a lot about the possible bridge collapse in Philadelphia and whatever else. I thought it was maybe for the Steelers to play the Eagles in the Super Bowl, because the Steelers are the city of bridges, and also, the city of steel or whatever, city of bridges. I'll leave some links in the description, but there's a definite bridge symbolism going on connected to the number 81. The Super Bowl was in Minneapolis, where we had the famous bridge. All right, you get the point. I just wanted to prove that I've been talking about this bridge symbolism and a possible bridge collapse, and then we get a bridge collapse. So let's look at some of the stuff in this story, and then I mentioned Kabbalah because the way that I figure out some of these things that are going on is just by paying attention to my own personal life. And things that happen in my life are somehow synced up to what else is going on in the rest of the world. And I really feel like if other people really paid attention to things that are going on in their life and paid attention to synchronicity things, that we can all do this, and we can change the world this way. We can make the world a better place by understanding this knowledge. We can, I think that's what these people do. There's people with power who are ruling over us. They understand this system, and they're knowing how to manipulate it in order to, control people's minds and make people continue to be slaves every single day. But let's look more into this story. So right away, what I noticed was that I've been talking about how it's connected to Philadelphia a whole lot. And this story just so happens to happen in Miami, Florida. That equals 65 in Gematria. Florida also equals 65, just like Philadelphia. And I never noticed that bridge collapse equals 65 in Gematria as well. So just a perfect place for a bridge collapse in regards to what I was talking about with Philadelphia. And I even noticed, so it happened at this school, Florida International University. And if you look up the school, that school was even founded in the year 65. And the same day was the same day that March Madness began, and Miami collapsed, or Miami lost to Loyola of Chicago. They even mentioned this bridge collapse during the game. I was kind of listening to it at work, and I remember the announcers talking about this story. That's how I even figured out this story was going on. I was at work. But they lost to Loyola of Chicago, which is a Jesuit university, and a big piece to the bridge symbolism was all about the Jesuits and Pope Francis. I'll leave some links in the description, but Pope Francis turned 81 years old 81 days after the Jesuit anniversary, and he's supposedly the first Jesuit pope. And Donald Trump is also went to a Jesuit university. And Miami, where this bridge collapse happens, loses to the Jesuit school on the same day that this bridge collapse happens. Also, the team, their name here, Loyola University Chicago, equals 117, just like the word bridge in reverse. Bridge equals 117 in reverse. If the abbreviation that they call the team is LUC, that equals 36 and 45. Miami equals 36 and 45. Bridge equals 36 and 45. Florida International University, they're called FIU. FIU equals 36 and 45, just like bridge. You know, super fitting. Also, if you read out pedestrian bridge, it equals 84, just like Jesuit. And this is where the story gets interesting to me in regards to things that happened in my own life. And, you know, I just haven't had enough time to really go into this. I've had to work every day this week, and then I have band practice. I had a DJ gig last night, and tonight I have a band gig that I have to go to. So I just haven't had enough time to really look into this story. But yesterday, when I was at work, for whatever reason, you know, I just work at a gas station, and I had to clean the oven, so I usually turn it off and let it cool down for a little bit, and I'll look at my phone or something. And I got on Facebook, and I was just like literally scrolling through. One of the first things I saw was a post from Enter the Stars. There's another guy on YouTube, and he had this bridge collapse in here, and he said, 9 days ago, we dreamed this. And I thought, okay, whatever, I'll check it out because I've been talking so much about this bridge symbolism. So I clicked on his video here, and what it brings up is this video that he made from 9 days ago, and he doesn't talk about a bridge collapse, he talks about a building collapsing, and he talks about how it pancaked, kind of like, you know, reminding him of this bridge. So he didn't really talk about a bridge collapsing, he talked about a building collapsing. But what he talked about in that video was how he hasn't had very many prophetic dreams, and he said the only one that he's had was about his father dying, and then his father died a month later. He had a dream about his dad dying, and then his dad died a month later. And then he also went on to mention this new dream that he had about a building collapsing. And I never posted it on my blog because I just didn't want to put any negative energy into it. I was trying to figure out more of what I was talking about, or more of, not what I was talking about, but more of possibly what it's pointing to. Because a lot of times when these synchronicity things happen, they're not exactly connected, but they're related, if that makes sense. It's not exactly for the exact thing that it's seemingly pointing to. Sometimes it's like the code that's pointing to something else, if that makes sense. And anyway, I just posted on my blog. Interesting to me, I had a dream about my dad last night, not going into detail, but it made me look more up about him, blah, blah, blah. And I went on and talked about my son who was just born on January 17th, and his name equals 84, and just like Jesuit, and he was born 3 months and 21 days after the Jesuit anniversary, and his name in reverse equals 321. And I pointed out that he was born 84 days before my dad's birthday, and my dad's full name equals 927 in Satanic Gematria, and the Jesuit anniversary is on 927. And I posted this. The reason it's so interesting is because I posted this in regards to a dream that I had about my dad, that just so happened to be on the same night that he put this video out 9 days ago. So he put this video out on 3/6, and in the night of 3/6 into 3/7, I had a dream about my dad dying. It's just too strange. That I talk about these things happen all the time, but this one just, I was like, what in the world? He's talking about his dad dying uh, in regards to a dream, and then that same night I had a dream about my own dad dying. It's weird. And in my dream, my uncle Clancy, who is currently in the hospital and he needs a lung transplant, in my dream, he was completely fine and he was at my dad's funeral and everything else. And just yesterday, or maybe it was 2 days ago, his son's fiance, who I'm friends with, his son Timmy, and his soon-to-be wife Alicia, texted me and said that he might be getting out of the hospital for a few days and they might just go ahead and do a short wedding and just get married while he's out of the hospital instead of getting married in September. And I was supposed to be in the wedding and also DJ, just small wedding anyway. And she was like, just letting you know. So it's just interesting that he might even be getting out of the hospital for a few days in the near future, And then I'm dreaming that he's out of the hospital. Like, I don't know. It just seems strange. And, you know, if you've been following my channel, like the reason I even started making videos was because of Enter the Stars. Like, I followed a bunch of people years ago, and I even followed him. Man, like, I don't even think he even had 2,000 subscribers. I know a lot of people hate on him and say he's a shield or this or that. I don't really know my complete thoughts on it. What I do know is that he, at one point, he was seemed interested in Gematria until he learned that Jesus equals 74, cross, Messiah, all of that. And he said, and then all of a sudden, he couldn't get past his beliefs on it. That, Jesus is coded as well. He couldn't get past that. So he kind of just completely dismissed all of it. And the more and more I learned about Gematria after studying it, and I saw that he was not showing it anymore or ever, and he's just completely dismissing it, I just kind of fell away from his channel because it's just so obvious. And I don't know why he doesn't show it other than his beliefs. He doesn't want his beliefs to be changed, or he's just a shill, one or the other, or maybe something else. But his name in Gematria equals 88, and if you watch his channel, he's talks a lot about the number 88. His name equals 88, and he's also born on the 88th day of the year, and 88's like his big number that he loves. Why he doesn't share that, I don't know, because that's super interesting, and he should be sharing that. But he also, when I first made a channel, or I've had a channel forever with my music videos and stuff like that on here, but when I first started making these type of videos, he was one who encouraged me to do so because I had left so many comments in regards to patterns and whatever else that we were following. It was like a team effort. And I'm losing my train of thought here. The patterns weren't always about numbers, and I talk a lot about that. I noticed themes, and then if you learn Gematria, you have a better understanding of the pattern. So, it's just another layer that needs to be added to understanding how this all works. And he just completely dismisses it. And, he's just following the patterns, and then he does a little bit with numbers, but the numbers aren't always exactly on point either. And just in my head, possibly it's different for other people, but if I see like the number 177, I don't consider that a 77. I don't say, well, this is 177 and this is 77 and this is the same thing, and then make up a whole bunch of stuff like 277, 177, 377. I just don't see how they're all the same thing. I understand I sort of see it, but it doesn't seem like it's that concrete to me versus just showing how all of these things are 77 alone, if that makes sense. So that's the type of stuff that he does with numbers. It's sort of there, but it just doesn't seem as concrete to me as just finding all the stuff that equals 77 or a different number, but just throwing it out there. And that's why I don't think that he's like a bad guy. I think he's just literally stuck in his beliefs because, like, why would he even shared some of my early videos, like I talked about Abraham Lincoln dying exactly 88 years, 9 months, and 11 days after July 4th, 1776. And he got a lot of flack for doing so. I remember a bunch of people commenting saying it was a retarded video and whatever else. And I mean, he left it on there, so I don't know. I'm not calling him out or anything. I just don't understand why he doesn't share Gematria when his name equals 88. He was born on the 88th day of the year, and that's a big number that he's been obsessed with since early on in his channel. So I'm just bringing all of this up just because of this weird synchronicity. I want to just explain some things if people didn't know about, the early part of me making these videos. It does really stem back to a lot to do with him because he's the one who told me about screencast and just whatever, encouraged me to start making my own videos. So, because there's just so much information I was leaving on his videos at the time. And I don't know why I didn't make videos before that anyway, but. So in regards to the Jesuits and the father symbolism going on, if you go from the Jesuit anniversary to the day of this bridge collapse, it was 169 days. And when I started talking about the father symbolism, it was because of some synchronicity I had from watching the movie Spotlight, where they expose 87 priests. And also, in the mix of that, I turned on South Park as a joke for my daughter. And it happened to be the 87th episode that was about Catholic priests molesting kids, called Red Hot Catholic Love, that equals 87, and it was the 87th episode. And on Spotlight, there's 87 priests they expose in Boston, and the word priest in Gematria equals 87. And I talked about how when I was a kid, we had a child molesting priest. He just got kicked out of the church a few years back for molesting some kid. And he got kicked out after 35 years. The word Catholic equals 35, and so on. But his name was Father Fitzgerald, and then just a week later, we got the USS Fitzgerald crash story in the news. And I was talking about all this father symbolism connected to the Jesuits. And I pointed out that Father's Day in 2017 was the 169th day of the year, and U.S. Destroyer equals 169. And a big thing that was with that story was that there was 7 missing. That was like in the headlines a lot. 7 missing equaled 169. And then now we're getting this bridge collapse 169 days after the Jesuit anniversary that's connected to my father. I also had randomly mentioned Enter the Stars in a post back in August as well, when we had the death of Darren Dalton, the Philadelphia Phillies player, who wrote this book called If They Only Knew, or I can't remember what the book's called. It's something like that. But Enter the Stars had a backup channel with a very similar name, and I talked about him and how there was something showing me, seemingly, that it was showing me the Astros to be in the World Series with it even. And then the Astros did go to the World Series, and the Astros won the World Series. But in that post, I also talked about Natalie Holloway, which was, that equals 169, and the Joran Vandersloot guy who supposedly killed her, his birthday was the same day as Darren Dalton, or the same day Darren Dalton died. A bunch of other stuff that maybe, I don't know if I made a video, maybe I'll leave a link to the blog post. But Darren Dalton's book is 169 pages long. I'm just trying to piece this together. There's something weird going on with Father's Day and how it's connected. Even my own dad, his birthday is 169 days before the Jesuit anniversary. But the reason Natalie Holloway is so interesting as well is because this story right here was when I really started realizing that the media wasn't telling us the truth. And this story like made me question, why are we getting this story and there's thousands of people missing every day, but this story has just been blown up like crazy. That's when I really, really started kind of awakening, if that makes any sense. I mean, I was sort of awake at 9/11. I knew that something didn't make sense with 9/11. I remember even watching some video about a missile hitting the Pentagon in my old dial-up that took like 2 hours to download some video. But this story right here just really made me start questioning a lot of stuff. I mean, I just consider this one of the biggest stories in my process of awakening to what is going on in this world. So I just find that interesting that it's connected to my dad, it was connected to Enter the Stars, and then we're getting this bridge collapse that's synced up. I know it might be a lot to take in for someone new, so please go back and look at other videos if you're still listening. But also, before I'm done with this video, there there's just so much going on. So the story about Enter the Stars was also 9 days before. And I've been talking a lot about 10 days before with Donald Trump, how there's a big connection to 10 days before. Like Rex Tillerson fired 10 days before his birthday. Stormy Daniels paid off 10 days before the election. The JFK files being released 10 days before, 144 days after Trump's birthday. Just a bunch of stuff with it. And this is 9 days before. And in regards to Obama, there was a whole bunch of 9 day stuff. 9 days before Obama sang Amazing Grace at Clementa Pinckney's funeral after the Charleston church shooting, it was 9 days after 9 people got shot. So it was 9 days before. So I wonder if there's something connected to Obama and 9 days before, and then Donald Trump 10 days before, Donald Trump's even 10 presidents after JFK. And a big thing I was talking about with Obama back then was if he was assassinated, he was 9 presidents after JFK, and he'd be the 9th president to die in office. And, he's saying Amazing Grace 9 days after 9 people were shot. That was synced up to Coldplay playing the halftime show at the Super Bowl. And they have a song called, an album called A Head Full of Dreams where they sampled Obama singing Amazing Grace. A Head Full of Dreams. Think about Martin Luther King being shot. He had a dream, and it was synced up to that number. He died on April 4th, 10 days before 14/4, which is the same day Lincoln got shot and had a dream 10 days before he was assassinated. So there's something to think about there. So anyway, the same day as this bridge collapse happened, I worked, and then I had to go to band practice. And on my way to band practice, I got a phone call from Missouri. And I live in Iowa, and so it's just weird that, as a telemarketer, it had to be something. And I talked about how this happened a while back, how I'd get strange phone calls, like I got some from one from Houston just before the Houston flood. Then I got one from Nevada, and just before the Las Vegas shooting, and the guy from The Price is Right reaching out to me who got the perfect showcase bid on The Price is Right, who was from Las Vegas, and he reached out to me the day before the Vegas shooting. But I got these phone calls, and I haven't had one in a while, and I got one from Missouri. And I was in my car, and I answered it, and nobody was there. And I thought, I wonder if I'm supposed to see something with this. And I was just, right after that, I just turned the radio up, and I just recently, my dad gave me his car, or I sort of bought it. I don't know how to explain it, but my dad gave me his old car, and I hadn't really even drove it, so the radio was still on the country station, and I turned up the radio, and it was the song, Should Have Been a Cowboy, and I don't know, I thought, interesting, I get this phone call, now I'm listening to this country song, Should Have Been a Cowboy, and around the same time of all of the 10 days before stuff that I was talking about how there's a possible cowboy theme that's synced up to space and Space Cowboy, and I just started thinking, I wonder if there's something with this song that I'm supposed to see or whatever, and I couldn't get the song out of my head, and even the next day at work, I was singing this song for, I didn't even realize I was doing it. I was like singing it at work, and the one lady was like, "That's like not a song that you would normally sing." And we were just kind of laughing about it. And I was telling her, "I know, it's been stuck in my head. I can't get the song out of my head." And whatever. Later on in the day, her and another girl I work with were trying to figure out who this guy named Keith was, what his last name was. And I was like, I only honestly can only think of two Keiths that I know, and one of them is one of the girls that I work with, brother, who I also graduated with, and then this other guy that works at the store called Bonsel's in town. And it turned out to be a whole different guy, but it was just interesting. They were like having this in-depth like thought process of somebody named Keith. And when I looked up the song, Should Have Been a Cowboy, I had no idea who even sang the song, but I knew the song. The song happens to be by Toby Keith, which I thought was interesting. Just in regards to Keith, I remember sometime there was some time my mom told me that originally they were even going to name me Keith and not Daniel because of like my dad's, I don't know what it was, something. My dad, maybe one of my dad's relatives or something along the lines of that. So who knows? Just interesting. And after I got off work, I had to go DJ for a birthday party in Dow City, Iowa. And normally they're like a country bar, but last night it was all over the place. People wanted Rob Zombie and whatever. But so I got everything set up, and I was thinking about it the whole way there. I was like, I bet I Should Have Been a Cowboy would be a great song to play there because they like a lot of country music. And I was playing some music, and I even played Afro Man. And while I was playing Afro Man, the first person who requested a song came up, and they were like, "Do you have the song I Should Have Been a Cowboy?" And I said, "Are you kidding me?" Like the first person who requests a song requests I Should Have Been a Cowboy. Out of all the songs they could request, they request the one song that I've been thinking about for 2 straight days. It's just the strangest stuff. So I thought I would look up this song. And then this song even has, like the single, even has him riding off in the moon, right? The moon symbolism, space cowboy, once again. But I looked up the song. I also noticed they had a song called Valentine, which has been really big in regards to the connections to the moon on the same album. There was a song called Valentine. Even this bridge collapse happened 6 months and 12 days before the Jesuit anniversary. Remember, Valentine equals 612. A bunch of stuff with school shootings connected to 612. Also, the Orlando Pulse nightclub shooting was on 612 days before the Valentine's Day shooting that we just got. So I thought that was interesting. I also saw that Toby Keith was in a movie. His debut film was called Broken Bridges. What are the odds of that? The same day as the bridge collapse, I get a Toby Keith song stuck in my head, and he's in a famous movie called Broken Bridges. And it's his first movie he's ever in. And in that Should Have Been a Cowboy song, he even talks about Jesse James, which was a big thing that I was talking about with the bridge symbolism in regards to the Cher song, just like Jesse James. Also, the Jesse James, the Steelers player, Pittsburgh is the city of bridges and stuff like that. So, I don't know, something to think about. Also, the March Madness stuff I talked about in the beginning, and this being in Florida when Miami loses, the championship game is in Texas, which just reminds me of Cowboys. Toby Keith also has some interesting albums too, like Blue Moon, Dream Walkin'. I'm talking about this dream that I had, Blue Moon. Possibly nothing, but there's even one called Clancy's Tavern. And I'm talking about my Uncle Clancy too, that was intermingled into this. So, who knows? Just interesting. I wanted to point it out. But what are the odds that his famous movie called Broken Bridges, and I'm talking about how it's connected to a bridge collapse? It's just weird. So, I'm going to leave it at that. I got a bunch of stuff to do. So, Hopefully it makes sense, trying to piece this puzzle together. Hopefully I get more time to look more into it. But it's always coded by the numbers. So, have a good one. Peace.